Welcome to Vermont. You know, it's a place where history isn't just found in books. It really lives in the rolling hills and those quiet valleys, and honestly, it whispers through the leaves of maple trees. It stands proudly in the architecture of small towns. This is the Green Mountain State, a corner of America with a story unlike any other. We're inviting you to join us on a journey. Together, we'll explore this unique land and travel through time from its earliest days to its vibrant present. We'll discover the spirit of Vermont, a spirit of independence, resilience, and a deep connection to the land. This is more than just a tour, it's an exploration of the American soul. Our journey begins right here with an open invitation. We want you to see Vermont not just as a destination on a map, but as a living museum. Its exhibits are its forests, its mountains, and its lakes. Its galleries, well, those are its towns and villages. Each covered bridge tells a story, and every old farmhouse holds memories of generations past. We'll walk through these landscapes together and listen to the echoes of history that still resonate in these places. This tour is designed for those who love history and for those who want to understand the forces that shaped a state and a nation. Prepare to be inspired by Vermont's enduring legacy. Vermont's allure, honestly, is just timeless. It draws travelers seeking beauty and tranquility, but it also attracts those who are curious about the past. Here, you can stand on a revolutionary battlefield in the morning and then enjoy fresh cheese from a family farm in the afternoon. The state's history is woven into the very fabric of its daily life. It's not separate or confined to museums. It's present in the country stores and the town greens. It's reflected in the faces of the people who call this place home. Our tour will really embrace this blend of past and present. We'll show you how history continues to shape Vermont today. This narrated journey will be your guide as we navigate through the key moments of Vermont's story. We'll start with its first inhabitants and its struggle for independence, move through its role in the fight against slavery, and see its industrial growth and contributions to the nation. We're following a chronological path, and this structure will help us understand how each era built upon the last. It'll reveal the character of Vermont step by step. So join us as we uncover the layers of history that make this state so compelling. It's a story of courage, innovation, and an unbreakable bond with the natural world. Vermont's identity is really forged in the fire of independence. It was once a wild frontier caught between the ambitions of powerful neighbors. New York and New Hampshire both laid claim to this territory, but the people who settled here, well, they had their own ideas. They were rugged and self-reliant, and they called themselves the Green Mountain Boys. They fought for their land and their freedom. This early struggle defined Vermont's character and created a legacy of fierce independence that still endures today. Vermont wasn't one of the original 13 colonies. It was actually its own republic for 14 years before joining the Union. This unique beginning set it on a really distinct path. The state's natural beauty is the backdrop for its entire history. The Green Mountains run like a spine through the heart of the land, shaping the lives of everyone who's lived here. The mountains provided resources, but they also presented challenges. They isolated communities, which fostered a spirit of localism and self-sufficiency. The forests, lakes, and rivers here aren't just scenery, they're integral parts of the story. Lake Champlain was a vital waterway for trade and for war. The dense forest provided timber for homes and fuel for industry. We'll see how this stunning landscape is inseparable from the history of its people. This tour will highlight Vermont's unique role in American history. It was the first state to abolish slavery in its constitution in 1777. This was a bold and progressive step, happening long before the national abolitionist movement gained momentum. This commitment to freedom and justice is a core part of Vermont's identity. We'll explore the sites and stories connected to this proud history and learn about the Vermonters who championed human rights. They stood up for their beliefs, often against the tide of popular opinion. Their courage and conviction are a vital part of the state's heritage, a legacy that continues to inspire. Our journey will also celebrate the cultural richness of Vermont. This is a state known for its artisans, its writers, and its thinkers. Robert Frost wrote his timeless poetry here Inspired by these rural landscapes, small towns became centers for art and intellectual life. The traditions of farming, cheese making, and maple syrup production are more than just industries. They're cultural practices passed down through generations. They connect Vermonters to their land and their past. We'll explore these traditions, visit the places where this vibrant culture continues to thrive, and see how history, nature, and culture come together to create the unique tapestry of Vermont. This tour is structured as a journey through time. We'll proceed chronologically, exploring 5 distinct acts in Vermont's story. This approach lets us witness the state's evolution and see how early events laid the foundation for later we'll really delve into the beginnings. We'll learn about the native Abenaki people, and we'll cover the arrival of European explorers like Samuel de Champlain. Then we'll focus on the dramatic birth of the Vermont Republic. The heroic stand of the Green Mountain Boys at the Battle of Bennington will be a key moment. This part of our journey sets the stage for everything that follows. We'll explore Vermont's entry into the United States. It became the 14th state in 1791, which was a pivotal moment in its history. We'll examine its pioneering constitution, which outlawed slavery, visit the state capital, Montpelier, and see how new towns and farms began to shape the landscape. This era was a time of growth and consolidation. Vermont began to forge its identity as a part of the young nation, yet it always maintained its distinctive character. We'll see the evidence of this period in the historic buildings and town plans that have been preserved for us to see today. We'll move into the 19th century. We'll witness the rise of industrialization in Vermont as mills and factories sprang up along its powerful rivers. The railroad arrived, connecting Vermont's towns to the wider world. This era brought great change to the state. We'll explore the iconic covered bridges built during this time, symbols of Vermont's engineering heritage. We'll also examine Vermont's significant contributions to the Civil War. The state sent a higher proportion of its men to fight than any other in the Union. Their sacrifice is remembered at monuments across the state. The final acts of our tour will bring us closer to the present day. We'll explore the cultural traditions that define Vermont, visit a maple syrup sugar house, and learn about the state's world-famous cheese industry. We'll discover the literary landmarks that inspired great writers. Then we'll look at modern Vermont. We'll see how it's become a top destination for travelers, exploring stunning natural areas like the Green Mountain National Forest and Lake Champlain. We'll visit vibrant cities like Burlington and charming towns like Stowe. This journey will show you the full scope of Vermont's living history, from its revolutionary roots to its modern allure. Long before Europeans, this land was called Undakina, our land in the Abenaki language. The Abenaki have lived here for thousands of years, their lives intertwined with the seasons. The Abenaki culture was rich and had a profound respect for the earth. The arrival of Europeans brought devastating changes. Despite hardships, the Abenaki people endured. Today, the Abenaki are still here, preserving their culture and fighting for their rights. Their story is a reminder that Vermont's origins began long before Champlain. It began with the first peoples. Samuel de Champlain was the first documented European to see this land. In 1609, he traveled into the vast lake that would bear his name. He named the high, green peaks to the east Les Monts Verts, the Green Mountains. Champlain's journey opened the door for French influence, but the British also had their eyes on this territory. For decades, the region was a place of conflict. After the British victory in 1763, the land was open for settlement, but New Hampshire and New York both claimed it. New Hampshire began issuing land grants, and thousands moved north. New York declared the grants invalid, demanding settlers repurchase their land. This dispute set the stage for a rebellion as settlers refused to recognize New York's authority. Faced with threats, settlers formed a militia called the Green Mountain Boys. Led by Ethan Allen, they defended their homes and land, becoming a symbol of Vermont's independence. They gathered at the Caramount Tavern, planning strategies. When the revolution began, Allen captured Fort Ticonderoga, a key victory. In 1777, caught between New York, New Hampshire, and the British, They declared themselves the Independent Republic of Vermont. In 1777, the American Revolution was at a critical point. General Burgoyne's army was moving south from Canada, planning to cut off New England. Needing supplies, Burgoyne sent Hessians to capture the American depot in Bennington. General John Stark rallied the New Hampshire militia. Joined by the Green Mountain Boys, they defended their homes. On August 16th, the Americans surrounded Boehm's force. By nightfall, it was a decisive American victory. The British suffered heavy losses, weakening Burgoyne and contributing to his defeat at Saratoga. Saratoga then convinced France to join the war. The Bennington Battle Monument stands as a tribute to this crucial event. For 14 years, Vermont stood alone. It was an independent republic, a nation unto itself. It had its own constitution, its own currency, and its own postal service. It was a bold experiment in self-governance, born from the fires of revolution and land disputes. But independence was a precarious existence. The young republic was surrounded by powerful neighbors. The United States to the south and British Canada to the north both posed potential threats. Trade was difficult. Recognition on the world stage was non-existent. The leaders of Vermont understood that their long-term survival depended on joining the larger American project. So they began the long and complicated process of negotiating for statehood. The biggest obstacle was the old enemy, New York. New York still had not relinquished its claim to Vermont's territory. It blocked Vermont's admission to the Union at every turn in the Continental Congress. The issue of the disputed land grants remained a bitter point of contention. For years, the stalemate continued. Vermont even engaged in secret negotiations with the British in Canada. They explored the possibility of rejoining the British Empire as a separate province. This was a risky political maneuver. It was designed to pressure the United States into finally resolving the dispute. It showed just how determined Vermonters were to secure their future, one way or another. The end of the American Revolution changed the political landscape. The new United States Constitution was ratified, creating a stronger federal government. The national government was now looking to expand and consolidate its territory. The strategic importance of Vermont, located on the border with British Canada, was clear. Figures like Alexander Hamilton saw the benefit of admitting Vermont into the Union. It would strengthen the northern frontier and add another state to the young nation. The time was finally right for a compromise. The deadlock that had lasted for over a decade was about to be broken. A path to statehood was finally opening. The final agreement was reached in 1790. Vermont agreed to pay New York $30,000 as compensation for all its outstanding land claims. It was a small price to pay for sovereignty and security. With New York's opposition removed, the path was clear. On March 4, 1791, Vermont was officially admitted to the United States. It became the 14th state, the first to join the original 13 colonies. A new star was added to the American flag. The long struggle for recognition was over. The Independent Republic of Vermont was now a proud member of the United States of America. It brought with it a unique history and a fierce spirit of independence that would continue to shape its identity. When Vermont declared its independence in 1777, it created a new kind of constitution. In a radical move, they included Article 1. It declared all men are born equally free and independent, and no one ought to be held as a slave after a certain age. This was the first time a government in the Western Hemisphere had formally abolished slavery through its foundational document. It was a choice made by the people of Vermont themselves before the U.S. Constitution was even written. Vermont was enshrining freedom as its core value, setting it on a different course. They carried a belief in individual liberty and a moral opposition to slavery. This commitment to human liberty became one of Vermont's most enduring legacies. After becoming a state, Vermont needed a permanent capital. In 1805, the General Assembly chose Montpelier, located in the geographic center of the state. The first state house was a simple wooden structure built in 1808. As Vermont grew, a more impressive building was needed. The second state house, a magnificent granite structure, was tragically destroyed by fire in 1857. The current state house was completed in 1859. Today it stands as a symbol of Vermont's resilience and democratic ideals. With statehood secured, a wave of new settlements swept across Vermont. People poured in from southern New England and beyond, seeking land and opportunity. The population more than doubled between 1790 and 1810. These new arrivals pushed up into the hills, clearing the vast forests that covered nearly the entire state. This was an era of immense labor and transformation. The sound of the axe echoed through the mountains. Trees were felled to create pastures and fields. The landscape was being fundamentally reshaped by human hands. Life on a Vermont hill farm was incredibly difficult. The soil was thin and rocky, the growing season short, and the winters long and brutal. Families had to be almost completely self-sufficient. They built their own homes, grew their own food, and made their own clothes. The stone walls that crisscross Vermont today are a testament to this era. Each stone was pulled from the soil by hand or with oxen, piled at field edges as monuments to backbreaking labor. The symbol of this era was the sheep. The merino became highly prized for its fine wool. A merino fever swept through Vermont. Farmers cleared more land for vast flocks. By 1840, there were more than 1.5 million sheep in Vermont, more than 6 sheep for every person in the state. The landscape became a patchwork of open fields dotted with white sheep. The wool trade brought prosperity, connecting hill farms to textile mills of southern New England. This sheep boom had a lasting impact, widespread deforestation of the state. Up to 80% of Vermont was cleared by the mid-19th century. However, this boom did not last. Western competition and falling wool prices led to abandoned hill farms. The forest began to grow back. Today, old stone walls running through deep woods are silent reminders of the farms that once thrived on the hillsides. As the land was cleared and farms were established, towns began to take shape. The classic Vermont town plan emerged during this period. At the center of the community was the town green, or common. This was an open piece of land owned by the community. It served as a pasture for livestock, a training ground for the local militia, and a gathering place for public events. Surrounding the green were the most important buildings in the town. There was the meeting house, which served as both a church and a location for town meetings. There was a general store, a blacksmith shop, a tavern, and perhaps a one-room schoolhouse. The homes of the town's leading citizens often faced the green. The town meeting became the cornerstone of Vermont's political and social life. Once a year, usually in March, the citizens of the town would gather in the meeting house. They would elect their local officials, approve the town budget, and vote on all matters of public concern. This was democracy in its purest and most direct form. Every voter had a voice. Debates could be long and passionate. This tradition fostered a strong sense of community and civic responsibility. It reinforced the idea that the government was not some distant authority, but something that belonged to the people themselves. The town meeting remains an important part of Vermont's identity to this day. The architecture of these early towns reflected the values of the people who built them. The style was often simple, practical, and elegant. The Federal and Greek Revival styles were popular for homes and public buildings. White clapboard churches with tall, slender steeples became an iconic feature of the Vermont landscape. These buildings were constructed by local craftspeople using local materials. They were built to last. They expressed a sense of order, balance, and quiet dignity. The preservation of these historic town centers is one of our most great treasures. Walking through a town like Grafton, Weston, or Peacham feels like stepping back in time. These small, self-reliant communities fostered a unique character. Neighbors depended on each other for survival and support. There was a strong sense of local identity and pride. People were known for being reserved, practical, and independent-minded. They valued hard work, thrift, and common sense. This character was shaped by the land itself. The long winters and the hard work of farming bred resilience and fortitude. This period, from statehood through the early 19th century, was when the essential character of Vermont was forged. It was built in the town meetings, on the hill farms, and in the tight-knit communities centered around a village green. The age of the self-sufficient hill farm gave way to a new era, driven by machines and powered by Vermont's fast-flowing rivers. Mills and factories sprang up along riverbanks, transforming towns like Winooski and Brattleboro into bustling industrial centers. These mills produced flour, lumber, and especially textiles, drawing people from farms to new opportunities. In Windsor, the Robbins and Lawrence Armory pioneered interchangeable parts, is revolutionizing manufacturing worldwide. Vermont was no longer just a state of farmers, but a state of makers. For decades, Vermont's mountains isolated communities and made travel slow. This began to change in the mid-19th century with the arrival of the railroad. The Iron Horse promised to connect Vermont to the rest of the nation. The first line opened in 1848, spurring a frenzy of construction. Immigrant laborers made this new transportation network possible, altering the landscape. It was now possible to transport goods quickly. Town along the rail line flourished. Covered bridges are an iconic symbol of this era of transportation. Vermont's industrial age sparked remarkable creativity, producing inventors whose ideas impacted the nation. This ingenuity stemmed from Yankee self-reliance, leading to extraordinary breakthroughs. Thaddeus Fairbanks invented the platform scale, revolutionizing commerce. John Deere, a Rutland blacksmith, invented the steel plow, opening the American West to agriculture. Vermonters like William Barton and Thomas Davenport exemplified this spirit. Vermont's legacy lies in its innovative ideas and brilliant industrial minds. In 1861, Vermont rallied to the Union cause, driven by a deep opposition to slavery and a fierce sense of duty. Over 34,000 Vermonters, more than 10% of the state, served, fighting in nearly every major battle, earning the Vermont Brigade a legendary reputation. Back home, communities mobilized. Women sent supplies, factories made uniforms, and farmers fed the troops. Vermont suffered the highest casualty rate in the Union. Nearly every family felt the loss. Yet the war cemented Vermont's identity. Freedom, union, and justice became its enduring legacy. Their sacrifice remains a defining chapter in Vermont's story. After the war, Vermonters honored their fallen with monuments on town greens and cemeteries, granite obelisks, and silent soldiers standing watch. These memorials became gathering places, especially on Memorial Day, to remember sacrifice and the meaning of the war. Vermont's role at Gettysburg is immortalized by monuments marking their heroic stand during Pickett's charge. The war's aftermath brought loss and change, but also solidified Vermont's image as a place of principle and sacrifice. The legacy of the Civil War is etched in stone across the state. These monuments ensure Vermont's story of courage and freedom endures. Maple syrup is Vermont's sweetest tradition, first crafted by the Abenaki and later adopted by settlers. Early methods were simple, tapping trees, boiling sap over open fires, and making maple sugar for storage. Innovations like metal spouts and evaporators transformed the process, and sugar houses became a symbol of spring. Today, Vermont leads the nation in syrup production, blending old rituals with new technology. Sugaring is more than business. It's a cherished ritual connecting Vermonters to their land and heritage. Visiting a sugar house each March is a celebration of Vermont's enduring identity. When sheep farming faded, Vermont turned to dairy, its hills perfect for cows and cheese. Railroads let farmers send milk, butter, and especially cheddar cheese to distant cities. Cooperative creameries flourished, and Vermont cheddar gained fame for its sharp, unique flavor shaped by the land. Today, artisan cheesemakers experiment with styles and techniques, earning global acclaim. The Vermont Cheese Trail invites visitors to taste this evolving tradition. Cheesemaking remains a delicious symbol of Vermont's agricultural spirit. Vermont's beauty and quiet have long inspired writers seeking solitude and inspiration. Robert Frost, the state's most famous poet, captured its landscapes and spirit in his verse. Literary giants like Pearl S. Buck, Rudyard Kipling, and Alexander Solzhenitsyn found refuge and creativity here. The Breadloaf Writers Conference continues this tradition, drawing writers from around the world. Vermont's bookstores and literary events keep the arts vibrant. The words written in and about Vermont help define its character for the world. In a state built on self-sufficiency, making things by hand was a way of life. For early Vermonters, craftsmanship was a necessity. They built their own furniture, wove their own textiles, and forged their own tools. But beyond pure function, there was often a desire to create objects of beauty. This is the heart of folk art. It is art made by ordinary people for their own use and for their communities. It is rooted in tradition, passed down through generations. Vermont's rural isolation and strong sense of community created a fertile ground for these traditions to flourish, resulting in a rich legacy of folk art that is both practical and deeply expressive. One of the most iconic forms of Vermont folk art is quilting. For generations, women saved scraps of fabric from old clothes and leftover sewing projects. They would piece these small bits of cloth together to create warm and beautiful bed covers. Quilts were often made as communal projects, with women gathering for quilting bees. These gatherings were important social events, a time for sharing news and supporting one another. The patterns they used often had special names and meanings, like log cabin or wedding ring. A quilt was more than just a blanket. It was a repository of family history, a testament to thrift, and a work of collaborative art. Woodworking was another essential craft. With forests covering most of the state, wood was the primary raw material. Vermont craftsmen became known for their skill in creating everything from sturdy furniture to intricate carvings. They made chests, chairs, and tables that were built to last for generations. Many artisans also carved smaller, more decorative items. They whittled animals, created intricate puzzles, and even carved whimsical figures. This tradition of decoy carving, initially for hunting, also evolved into a recognized art form. These wooden objects reflect a deep understanding of the material and a patient, steady hand. They are a tangible link to the forests that have always defined Vermont. Today, the spirit of folk art and craftsmanship is alive and well in Vermont. The state is home to a thriving community of artisans. They work in studios and workshops tucked away in small towns and down country roads. They are potters, glass blowers, weavers, furniture makers, and jewelers. The Vermont Folklife Center in Middlebury works to document and preserve these traditions, both old and new. Craft fairs and open studio weekends are popular events, allowing visitors to meet the artisans and purchase their work directly. This enduring commitment to making things by hand with skill and with heart is a vital part of Vermont's cultural identity. The rhythm of life in Vermont has always been marked by the changing seasons. Each season brings its own work, its own challenges, and its own reasons to celebrate. This close connection to the calendar of the year has given rise to a rich tapestry of festivals and community gatherings. These events are a time for neighbors to come together, to share food and music, to celebrate the harvest, and to strengthen the bonds of community. They are a living expression of Vermont's culture, reflecting the state's agricultural roots, its artistic spirit, and its love of the outdoors. These traditions help to weave the social fabric that holds small towns together. In the autumn, as the leaves turn brilliant shades of red and gold, towns across the state hold fall foliage festivals. These events celebrate the beauty of the season and the bounty of the harvest. They often feature craft fairs, farmers markets, and bake sales filled with apple pies and other seasonal treats. Some towns host agricultural fairs, which have been a tradition for over a century. Here, farmers show off their best livestock, giant pumpkins are weighed, and children enjoy carnival rides. These fairs are a direct link to Vermont's farming heritage, a proud display of the year's hard work and a joyful celebration before the arrival of winter. Winter in Vermont is long, but it is not a time of hibernation. It is a season for embracing the cold and the snow. Winter carnivals are held in many communities, featuring ice skating, sled dog races, and intricate ice sculptures. One of the most beloved winter traditions is the town-wide potluck supper. These events are often held in a church basement or a town hall. Families bring their favorite dishes to share, from hearty stews to homemade casseroles. These gatherings are a simple but powerful way to combat the isolation of winter, it's fostering a sense of warmth and togetherness during the coldest months of the year. As the snow melts and spring arrives, the celebrations continue with maple festivals and green-up days where volunteers gather to clean up the roadsides. Summer brings outdoor concerts on the town green, 4th of July parades with local fire trucks and marching bands, and festivals celebrating everything from strawberries to classical music. These gatherings, large and small, are the lifeblood of Vermont's communities. They are a testament to a culture that values participation, connection, and the simple joy of being together. They are a reminder that in Vermont, tradition is not something that is just remembered, it is something that is actively lived year after year. In the 20th century, a new awareness began to dawn. After a century of clearing, people started to see the value in what was lost. The once vast forests of Vermont have been significantly reduced. The sheep boom and subsequent logging had left many hillsides bare and prone to erosion. A conservation movement began to grow, advocating for the protection of the state's natural beauty. This movement recognized that the wildness of the Green Mountains was something to be cherished and preserved. This ethic led to the creation of the Green Mountain National Forest in 1932. The Civilian Conservation Corps played a vital role planting trees, building trails, and creating campgrounds. Today, the Green Mountain National Forest stretches over 400,000 acres. It runs like a green ribbon down the spine of the state. It is a vast expanse of protected wilderness, a haven for wildlife, and a playground for outdoor enthusiasts. The long trail winds its way through the heart of the forest. The forest is a living testament to the power of conservation. The Green Mountain National Forest is a symbol of Vermont's commitment to preserving the wild soul of the state. Lake Champlain has been at the center of Vermont's story. It was a highway for the Abenaki, a battleground for empires, and a commercial artery for the young state. In the modern era, its greatest value now lies in its immense natural beauty and its opportunities for recreation. Kayakers and paddleboarders explore its many quiet coves. Ferries still cross the lake, connecting Vermont to New York. The fishing on Lake Champlain is legendary. Dozens of shipwrecks lie preserved in its cold, deep waters, telling the story of the lake's long and varied past. The islands of Lake Champlain are a particularly special destination. The Lake Champlain Bikeway offers miles of relatively flat terrain for cyclists. In the early 20th century, skiing began capturing imaginations. Stowe, nestled beneath Mount Mansfield, became the epicenter of this passion, transforming from a quiet farm town into the ski capital of the East. In the 1930s, the Civilian Conservation Corps cut the first ski trails. By 1940, Stowe installed one of the world's first chairlifts, revolutionizing the sport. The Von Trapp family settled here, adding Austrian alpine culture. Today, Stowe remains a top destination, blending natural beauty and historic charm. While Vermont is known for its rural landscapes, it also has a vibrant urban center, Burlington. Located on Lake Champlain, it's Vermont's largest city, yet also the largest city in the U.S. Church Street Marketplace is its heart, offering shops, cafes, and street performers. The University of Vermont gives it youthful energy, and its revitalized waterfront offers parks and stunning lake views. Burlington blends history with a progressive spirit. Our journey through Vermont has taken us across centuries, from the ancient world of the Abenaki to modern cities. We've seen a stubborn spirit of independence give birth to a republic, which became the 14th star in the American flag. This is the story of Vermont, a story of resilience and an unbreakable bond between people and their landscape. The Green Mountains, rivers, and Lake Champlain are active characters, providing resources and challenges. The people of Vermont have always been its greatest resource, from farmers to soldiers. Vermont is a place of powerful continuities, where the past is woven into the fabric of everyday life. Our narrated tour has ended, but your Vermont journey is just beginning. We've only scratched the surface of what Vermont offers. The real magic happens when you explore the landscape. Vermont is a place to experience. Hike the Long Trail, visit a sugar house, or explore Lake Champlain. Every corner has a story. Your Vermont story might begin in a farmer's market or on a quiet country road. Come, explore, and write your own chapter in the Green Mountain State. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.